Hello students. So today we will be starting about the circulatory system. Now what exactly do we mean by the circulatory system? Right? Now what exactly are the functions? Now why exactly we need a circulatory system? So normally here we have the two different types of organisms, the unicellular organisms and the multicellular organisms, right? So now what exactly happens in the unicellular? So here we have a two terminology, the unicellular organisms and the multicellular organisms. Now in the unicellular organisms, now a single cell, now in the single cell will be performing all the activities, right? Now for the living we need to have some basic metabolic activities being performed, right? So there is a need of energy, right? There is a need of energy. Now how do we get the energy? By the process of the respiration, right? Apart from that, the nutrition is required. So how do we get the nutrients? We get the nutrients from the process of what? The digestion. Now once we get the nutrients, right, we eliminate out the waste from the body. Now when we eliminate out the waste, now what is that process called? That process is called what? The excretion one. Right. So here in this way we have the many different processes which are involved in the human body, okay, which happens in the body there, normally in the organism, and which makes it, you know, living there. Fine. So here this is a very basic concept, that is we are dealing with the human circulatory system. So as you all have completed your grade 10th and you are moving to your grade 11th, right? So here we will be discussing out this topic in little more detail and will be connecting the gap there. Okay, we'll be connecting what? The bridge. Now here, like, we have a different processes, okay, that are observed in the living organisms, which mainly includes what? Which mainly includes the digestion, the respiration and the circulation, excretion, right? Now in that, now among them we are discussing the one process that is called the circulation, okay, the circulatory system. Now what exactly is the circulatory system? Now when we were starting the discussion, right, the unicellular and the multicellular. So what do you mean by a unicellular? Now in a unicellular we have one single cell which will be performing all these functions. Like for example, now that one single cell will be performing the digestion by itself, okay, respiration, excretion, reproduction, all by themselves. So there is a one single cell. Can anyone give me the example, okay, of this unicellular organism? Can we say this amoeba, right? Okay, we can say this paramecium. Now what are all these? These are the unicellular, like they only have this one single cell. Now and they are simple organisms, right, with a simple body organization. Now when we come to the higher organisms, right, so they have a complex body. Now in that they have many different types of systems, right? So we have they have a separate system for the digestion, separate for the respiration, now separate for what? Separate for this like excretion, right, and for the circulation. We have a different systems present in an organism's body to make it function efficiently. Right. So we have a simple body organization, then we have a complex body organization. Now in the complex body organization, so there is a one particular system which is carrying it out, that particular process separately, unlikely that we observe what? In the unicellular organisms, right? So here in the unicellular, one single cell is performing all these physiological processes, whereas in the multicellular, okay, that is they are having a different systems which perform the different functions. Now among those processes we are discussing the one process, that is the circulatory system. Now what exactly do we mean by this circulatory system, right? Now what exactly are the functions of the circulatory system? Let us try to understand. Now just imagine, now what do you mean by circulation? Circulation is like the movement, right? Now here we are circulating it. There is a movement of, now what is circulated in our body? Can anyone just tell me what is circulated constantly in our body? So we know that the blood, okay, is circulated in our body constantly. Now why exactly do we need this circulation of the blood? Now why the blood need to be circulated throughout the body? Anyone can answer? Now here, who pumps the blood? Now the blood is pumped by the pumping organ, our heart. right? Now when when the blood reaches to the different organs present in the body, now what exactly happens? Now what exactly is the purpose of the circulatory fluid that is called the blood? Now what is the function of the circulation? Now just imagine, students, now here what I told you, the basic processes that we need for carrying out the living process, what are they? Okay, these are the digestion, then we have this respiration, then we have this excretion, right? Now for example, all the cells, as we are saying, the human body is multicellular. So here we are discussing the human body is what? It's a multicellular. Okay, so here as they are multicellular, so do all the cells require energy, right? So all the cells what? So all the cells they require what? They require energy, right? They require the energy. For that, how do they get it? Okay, they get it like they require the nutrients, they require the oxygen, right? And even apart from that, they required what? The hormones for the growth, right? For carrying out some processes, to initiate some processes, they need all of them. Now just imagine now where exactly the digestion process happens. It happens where? It happens in the stomach. Okay, the food is absorbed in where? The small intestine. Now just imagine when the food is absorbed in the small intestine, how from the small intestine all the nutrients which are being absorbed are transported different cells present in our body. Got my point? Now here we have these structures, I think you have heard, the finger-like projecting structures called the microvilli. Okay, they are the villi which are present where? In your intestine, the small intestine. Okay, so they will be absorbing all the nutrients from the food that you all eat. Now those nutrients which are absorbed need to be what? They need to be circulated to all the cells present in the body for their proper, for the proper functioning, for the energy and all. Now from what is the organ which helps in the respiration? I mean, the exchange of gases, where exactly it happens? Now the exchange of gases happens at the lungs. Right? Now when there is an exchange of gases that happens at the lungs, so at that time what will happen? Now the cells, now the blood, that is oxygenated blood, okay, that is delivered to that will be delivering the oxygen to all the different parts of the body. Okay, so here what exactly is helping out for delivery of the oxygen as well as the nutrients? Here we have the circulation fluid, the circulatory fluid, that is what? The blood. Right? So in this chapter basically we'll be discussing about what exactly is the function of the circulatory system, what the circulatory system consists of, what are the different type of circulatory system we observe in different organisms, right? And what exactly are the circulatory system, the human circulatory system composed of. Okay, so let us quickly start the main topic here. Okay, so what exactly is the function of the circulatory system? So how can we write it down? We can write down the main points. Yeah, so we can write what exactly are the functions. So mainly the first function, if we say, yeah, so first, so we can write down, okay, it transports the oxygen to different parts of the body, right? That are all the cells, right? Next, apart from that, it delivers the nutrients to all cells. Apart from that, yeah, so here once the metabolic reaction happens, once these nutrients are used up, okay, so there are the metabolic waste being generated. Now who collects the metabolic waste? It is also what? It is also the blood. Now here you can write it down. It collects the metabolic waste from all cells. Okay, right. Next, apart from that, yeah, so does it also play an important role in controlling the body temperature, right? Maintaining the constant body temperature? Yes, it also helps in what? The homeostasis. Okay, so you can write down, it helps in homeostasis. What do you mean by the term homeostasis? That is maintaining a constant. That is maintaining the constant body temperature. Okay, maintaining the constant body temperature. Now apart from that, also it helps in, okay, it transports the hormones to different parts of the body, right? Okay, so these are the main functions of what? The circulatory system, right? Now here let us read out the next one. Let us go to the next part. Now where exactly we'll be discussing about what are the types of circulatory system. Okay, so we mainly have the two types of circulatory system. Now what exactly are there? Fine. Now here we have mainly two types of circulatory system. That is what? The open and the closed type. Now what is the first one? We have the open type. Okay, we have the open type, and then we have what? The closed type of circulatory system. We have the closed type of circulatory system. Fine. Now what exactly happens in the open circulatory system and the closed circulatory system? So if you just check the name, right, we are telling it, it's an open circulatory system. Now next is a closed circulatory system. Now what exactly happens here? In the open circulatory system, now normally a circulatory system consists of what? The heart, the blood and the blood vessels. Now here what are the blood vessels? Now the blood vessels will be forming the closed connections, right? They will be forming the closed connections. Now when we check this open type of circulatory system, so many of the students, they have a common doubt that are the blood vessels absent in the case of the open circulatory system? Are they only present in the closed circulatory system? Now students, in the open circulatory system, you also have the blood vessels, but these blood vessels are not developed properly, okay, not well formed. They can say they are incompletely formed. For example, now here in the closed one, you have the artery, you have a vein, which together are connected by the capillaries. So here you are seeing a connection, right? But this type of connection is not observed in what? In the open type. In the open type, you have the vessel, but the vessels don't continue. Okay, they don't form a closed network, unlike the we observe it in the closed type. In the open type, now the blood goes into the blood vessels. From the blood vessels directly it is bathed. Okay, that directly the fluid goes into the body cavity, that is called the sinus. So it is not it is not continued further by the blood vessel, and we don't form any kind of a closed connection that we observe in the closed type. Okay, so for example, let us see this. Now mainly to understand, you need to know what exactly happens in the closed type. Now closed type, for example, you have an artery, right? That would be further divided into what? That would be further divided into your arterioles, right? It will be further divided into the arterioles. Okay, now again we have what? You have the vein, right? That would be carrying the blood away. Now again they are further divided, right, into the small veins. Now what is connecting an artery to the vein, if I ask you? What exactly is connecting? Can I say that these are the capillaries? Yeah, we have this capillaries which is forming the connection between them. Yeah, so can we say that these are the capillaries which form the connection between them? Yes, yeah, got my point. So here you can find the closed, right? The structure is the closed. But here in the open type, you don't find any such networking. The closed networking is not observed. So what exactly happens? Now what exactly happens here in the open type? Now in the open type mainly, okay, now we can say that the blood is directly pumped into the body cavity. Into what? The body cavity. Now what is the body cavity also called? Okay, the body cavity is called what? The hemocoel. Okay, it is called the hemocoel. Fine. And the fluid being pumped is called the hemolymph. Okay, it's called the hemolymph. Fine. So I think you are clear with the terminology. The hemocoel, that is a body cavity in which the fluid is pumped, that is called the hemolymph. Got my point? Now here what happens? Now in this open type, now the organs, now I can say that the body organs are bathed. Okay, the body organs are directly bathed by the hemolymph. Okay, they bathe it into the fluid, that is we can say the hemolymph. Got my point? So we don't find any connections, you know, these vessels which will be, you know, getting the blood, okay, towards it and again carrying away. So the organs are directly bathed, right? Now in which organisms we observe them? So here we observe in the simple organisms. Now can you name few of them, right? So here we observe this in what? Mainly. It is observed mainly in what? Examples you can write down. Mainly the phylum, the arthropoda, and we can write the mollusk. We can write the mollusca. But again in mollusca we have few exceptions, right? Now which one? Now again what happens in the closed type? Now in the closed type we can write down, okay, we can write down the blood is carried to the organs by a well defined network of blood vessels. Okay. Now here the organs are not directly bathed. So there is the vessels which carry the blood toward the organ and again you know, take it away from the organ. Okay. Now here the circulatory fluid is blood, is called what? Blood. Okay. And in which organisms do we observe these type? Okay. So can you just tell me few of them? Yeah. So mainly the vertebrates, the higher organisms, the vertebrates. Do we all come under vertebrate, students? Do we all come under vertebrates? Yes, we come under the vertebrate. Okay, that is a subphyla under the phylum Chordata, and we come under the class what? Mammalia. Right. Now can I ask you a small question? Okay, I'll be asking you a question. Now tell me which is the more efficient one. Okay, is it the closed or is it the open? Which is the more efficient one? Tell me. Yeah, the open circulatory system is more efficient or the closed circulatory system is more efficient, right? So here just imagine when the organs are directly bathed, they are not able to efficiently intake the oxygen and nutrients. Okay, so in the similar way, if you observe it in the closed one, so here there is the supply of the the blood through the vessels. Now here what happened, they are able to efficiently uptake and utilize the the nutrients and the oxygen that is being delivered. So if we say when we compare both of them, Okay, so we can write down the open circulatory system is what? That is less efficient. It is what? The less efficient. But whereas here we can say the system is more efficient. This is more efficient. Okay, so I hope you have understood, right, what is the simple, I mean to say, the open type of circulatory system and the closed type of circulatory system, right. So here let us move on to the next one, right, the circulatory system, the human circulatory system. Let us read about the human circulatory system in detail. Now here, what exactly does the human circulatory system consist of? Now the human circulatory system, it mainly consists of what? It mainly consists of, okay, the human circulatory system mainly consists of, okay, first the blood, next the blood vessels, and then the pumping organ, which is called what? Which is called the heart. Okay, so our human circulatory system comprises of the blood, okay, the blood vessels and the heart. Now here let us read about the first, which is the blood. Yeah, so what exactly is the role of blood, right? Now what exactly it is made up of? Now let us try to read about this in detail. Fine, so here we will be reading about the blood. Now what comes in your mind when you think of, the blood, right? Now the very first thing, okay, so it is what? How does it appear? It appears red in color. Can anyone tell me why does the blood appear red in color? Yeah, now because of what pigment? Now the blood appears red in color. Fine. Now apart from that, so here in the hemolymph, right, in the hemolymph is not red in color, it is white in color. Why is the hemolymph white in color, right? So here the main thing, in the hemolymph we don't have any, the respiratory pigment which give the color to it. Okay, so here the hemolymph will not play any role in the respiration. Now the hemolymph, okay, which is present in the hemocoel, okay, is not playing any role in what? The respiration there. Now apart from that, as there is no respiratory pigment, it appears, colorless, okay, that is no color. Whereas compared to the blood, right, now we can write down the blood is what? Now the blood is a fluid connective tissue, okay. Now why does the blood appear red in color? Why does the blood appear red in color? So you can write down the blood appear red in color because of the respiratory pigment, hemoglobin. Right, the hemoglobin. Fine. Now what exactly is the, the nature of the blood? Like, is it acidic, is it basic, or it is what? The alkaline. Now here the blood is slightly alkaline in nature, and the pH is what? The 7.4. Okay, the pH is what? The 7.4. Now what exactly the blood is, made up of? Fine. I think many of you, I think all of you have undergone the blood test, right, at some point of time. Now what exactly they do when you give them the blood sample. Now as soon as you give them the blood sample, okay, they'll be collecting it into the test tube, and again they'll be depending upon, they need a serum or they need a corpuscle, right, depending upon that they will be like separating it. Now what all are present inside the blood, right? Now what is the composition of the blood also we'll be discussing now. Okay, so what exactly, what mainly it is made up of, if I can say. Now you can write down the blood is mainly consists of the plasma and the formed elements. Okay, the plasma and the formed elements. Okay, so what exactly is the plasma, what are the formed elements, we'll be discussing in detail. Okay, so what it does, so the blood transports the nutrients, oxygen, right, the hormones and the metabolic, okay, hormones to and from the cells, in body and carry away the metabolic waste. Okay, fine. So here I hope this is clear, right? You have understood what exactly the blood, what is the function of the blood in detail, right? Now let us now read the composition of the blood. Now what exactly it is, right, made up of. Fine. Okay. Now the blood is mainly made up of what? The blood mainly it consists of, okay, the plasma and the formed elements, right? So here we have what? The plasma and the formed elements. Okay, the plasma and the formed elements. Now what exactly, okay, how much percentage of plasma and how much percentage of the formed elements? So we can write down here 55% of the plasma, right, and 45% of what? The formed elements. So in the 100% of the blood, how much percentage is your plasma? So I can say your plasma is how much percent? The plasma here is the 55%, and then you have the 45% which is your formed element. Okay, now you may have a doubt, ma'am, what exactly is the plasma, right, and what are the formed elements, right? Now just imagine, students, for example, now plasma is the fluid media. Okay, what exactly is a plasma? Plasma is your fluid media. It is a fluid media. Now it is a fluid medium in which the formed elements are suspended. Okay, or you can write the formed elements freely move. The formed elements are freely moving, or you can write down are freely moving. Okay, Now for example, just imagine, let us try to understand in this way. Just imagine you're taking a glass of water. Okay, so here we are taking a glass full of water. So here you have a glass and this is what? This is full of water, right? This is your glass which is full of water, right? Now what is a medium, right? What is the medium here? The medium is liquid media, right? The fluid media I can say. Now you just imagine this is what? This is your plasma, okay? This is your plasma, right? And here what would be again suspended? What do you mean by suspended? You can just write down like think added, you are adding out. Okay, what you are adding inside this plasma? Tell me. Now for example, this is your plasma which is a fluid media, right? Now here I am adding the formed elements. What are the formed elements? The formed elements are the corpuscles, the blood corpuscles and the blood platelets, that is I am telling cells, right? So see, as I told you in the beginning of the session, that our body is made like multicellular, made up of many cells. Okay, our body is multicellular. So the cells which are present, okay, in our brain, the structural and functional unit, what exactly it is called? It is called the neuron, right? And in the similar way, in the kidneys we have the nephrons. In the similar way, in the bones we have the osteocytes, in the muscle we have muscle cells, right? In the similar way, I am telling that, okay, this is a formed element. This is the cells. What are the cells? Okay, the formed elements, we have the blood corpuscles, that is the blood cells, and the cell fragments, okay, I can say the cell fragments, right? So here these RBCs and the WBCs and the platelets, they are suspended into these plasma. Now for example, just imagine these are your RBC, okay. Next, here you have the WBCs, right, the WBCs, and then okay, you have the platelets, right, the platelets, you have the platelets, fine, got my point? Now this all together is what? Now this all together I can say it's a blood. Now before that, what I was trying to explain, for example, only this media which contains the plasma, which only contains the liquid, this is what? The plasma. Okay, now plasma plus the formed elements. Formed elements, if you add the formed elements, what do you mean by formed elements? This RBCs, this WBCs, okay, this platelets, when you add them, now at that time you will be getting what? The blood. Got my point? Now here I can say that the blood is made up of the plasma, which is the fluid part, okay, which is the media in which what? In which all of them will be like suspended. Got my point? Right? Now next, we have here the elements. What are the elements? The elements are the RBCs, okay, we have this WBCs, and then we have what? The platelets. Okay, so this part is clear, everyone? Fine. Next, let us, yeah, now this is the one. Now what exactly is the composition of the plasma? Now what the plasma is exactly made up of? Let us try to understand. Now here we have the formed elements. In the formed elements, what we have? In the formed elements, we have this, we have this part, which is your the blood corpuscles. You have the blood corpuscles. Next, you have the cell fragments. Okay. Now this blood corpuscles are also called what? The cells, right? The cells, the corpuscles or the cells which forms one and the same. Which forms what? The one and the same. Okay. The corpuscles or cells which forms one and the same. The corpuscle and the cell, it means the same. Okay. And then we have the cell fragments. What we have? We have the cell fragments. Now what exactly is the difference between the corpuscle and the fragment, student? Corpuscle is one single cell, whereas this fragment, okay, they are the cell fragments which are, you know, present there. It's not a complete cell, like the one single cell, they are broken down into what? They are broken down into these fragments. Got my point? Okay, next, yeah, so let me clear this so that we can simplify it. Yeah, okay. Yes. Now what exactly is the plasma made up of? What exactly is the plasma made up of? Now here I can say the plasma is made up of the water. How much percentage of water? It is made up of 90 to 92 percentage of what? The water. It is made up of the 90 to 92 percentage of the water. So most of the component which is present in the plasma is what? Which is present in the plasma is your water only. Apart from that, you have the proteins, right? You have what? The proteins. Now what are the proteins which are present in the, you know, the plasma? Okay, so how much percent exactly? So here we have 6 to 8% of the proteins, right? Now apart from that, we also have what? We also have the minerals. Now how many, like how much percentage, right? Minerals are very least, you can say approx 1%. Approx your 1%. Got my point? Yeah, so 1% approx is the composition there. So here, here see students, the plasma is made up of what? The plasma is made up of the 90 to 92% of the water. Okay, the proteins which is 6 to 8%, and next we have the minerals which is 1%. Okay, so most of the plasma component is made up of what? The water. Now talking about the proteins, so what are the proteins which are present there? Okay, so the proteins which are present in the plasma, mainly 3 types. Okay, so what we have? We have this albumin, we have this albumins, we have this globulin, okay, and then we have this fibrinogen. We have this fibrinogen. Okay, so what are the proteins which are present? The proteins which are present in the plasma, we have this albumin. Okay, we have what? The globulins, and then we have what? The fibrinogen. Okay, got my point? Right? So what exactly is the role of each of the protein? So if I'm only talking about the plasma part, so here the protein, we are saying we have this albumin protein. Now what is the role of that albumin protein? Okay, so see students, now this is, as it is a you know, the connecting tissue, the fluid that is circulating throughout the body. Now here, as the cell is being suspended into these media, now they need to be measuring, you know, maintaining the osmotic pressure and everything, right? So the osmotic balance or the osmotic pressure, who is responsible for maintaining that osmotic balance or the osmotic pressure inside the body or inside the cell? It is what? The albumin. Now what exactly is the role of albumin? So I can write down here, they helps in maintaining all osmotic balance. Helps in maintaining, it maintains what? Maintaining osmotic balance. Osmotic balance. Got my point? Yeah, osmotic balance in the body. Apart from that, we have the globulins. Now why we got that name globulins, right? You remember, do you have any idea of this word called antibody? Okay, do you know that antibodies are also called immunoglobulin? Right, antibodies are also called immunoglobulin. Now why exactly these antibodies are called immunoglobulin? Tell me. Okay, so here I can tell that these are the globulins, means the proteins, okay, which are you know, present in our body to fight against the pathogens that enter, and they will be increasing our immunity. Got my point? They'll be increasing our immunity. So here, as they are playing a main part in the defense mechanism of a body and maintaining the body's immune system, they are called the immunoglobulins. right? Now here you can see this the globulins present there, okay? So they help in what? They mainly help in the body's immune response. Now how exactly the body's immune response? Now they will be helping in the production of what? Helping in this, you know, they will be carrying specific kind of proteins, okay, specific immunoglobulins, which will be helping in to improve our body's defense mechanism. Okay, so what we can write down? Now here they can write down, we can write down, they help in, yeah, they help, fine, they help in maintaining, okay, maintaining body's immune responses, okay, immune responses or immune system, okay. The body's immune responses, they help in maintaining the body's the immune system or the immune responses. Write down responses. Got it, students? Next we have this, the next protein is fibrinogen. Now you know, we will be reading even about the clotting mechanism. Okay, what exactly happens in a clotting mechanism? Now let me just give you a small briefing about it. Now whenever we suffer from any injury, any external injury, any wounds or any cuts, okay, for example there is like a sudden accident, a small accident, or there is an external injury which damaged the tissue part, okay, which damage the tissue, and at that time what will happen? The blood would be oozing out from the body. There is a blood loss. Now just imagine, or whenever you're cutting, when you try to cut some vegetables or the fruits, by mistake there is a small cut, when we suffer from a small cut, so at that time what would happen? Okay, the blood starts coming out from the body. Now tell me one thing, does the blood continues to flow throughout, or after some time it will be stopped by itself, right? So as we all observe that after maybe few minutes or sometimes few seconds also, the blood would be stopping. Now do you ever thought what exactly makes the blood, prevents the blood from the losing or oozing out from the body? Okay, it's nothing but the clotting mechanism, right? Now how exactly it happens, right? So we have certain proteins which will be helpful in this clotting of the blood. Now we have an entire separate different mechanism. That mechanism we will be discussing in the upcoming classes, but for now just remember that the fibrinogen is a protein. Now this is always in the inactive state. Now what is the fibrinogen? It helps in actually preventing. Now this fibrinogen is in the inactive state, Now whenever the clotting mechanism happens, so at that time what would be happen? This inactive fibrinogen will be converted into what? The active fibrin, and it will be forming what? It will be forming a mesh, okay? It will be forming the mesh at the site of injury, and it would be preventing the clotting of it, and will be causing the clotting of blood, okay? Now it will be clotting, it will be helping in clotting of blood. So this all we will be reading it in detail in the upcoming classes, but for now just remember that the function of fibrinogen is to it helps in clotting mechanism, okay? It helps in the blood clotting, okay? It helps in blood clotting. It helps in the blood clotting there, okay? So clotting is what? Whenever there is an external injury, so the blood comes out of the body, and here to prevent the loss of blood from the body shows a mechanism that is called the clotting of blood. Now in this clotting of blood mechanism, the very important protein which plays a main role is our fibrinogen. Now this fibrinogen is present in our plasma, okay? It is present in our plasma in the inactive state. Now whenever there is a requirement, now what exactly it will be doing? It will be getting in the activated state through some series of reactions, and again it will be helping in the clotting of blood, okay? So this is the part, I hope this is clear, okay? This is clear. Now next, what did we miss out? We have these minerals, right? We have what? We have the minerals. Now what are the all minerals which are present in the plasma? Now do we really have the minerals which are present in our body? Obviously, right? Okay, what are the minerals, right? Any guess, any answers, right? So the different minerals which are present in that, the main minerals are what? Okay, so we have the sodium, then we have the calcium, we have this magnesium, then we have this chlorine, right? We daily in the food also we intake the minerals, right? For example, we add the when, like normally when we use this table salt, when we use the salt, what is salt, students? It's nothing but the sodium chloride, right? The sodium and the chlorine. Now even we need these minerals for the proper functioning of our body. Now how exactly? Because these play a very crucial role, these minerals play a very crucial role in certain body processes, right? Now now when in the 11th you have the human physiology, there you will be understanding the role of each of them in detail. Now but let me tell you one or two from my end now. For example, the calcium. Now what is the role of calcium? Okay, the role of calcium, the calcium helps in what? The clotting. It helps in clotting of the blood. So if you have the calcium, so there are few reactions when we will be discussing about the clotting mechanism, then we will be discussing that only in the presence of calcium few of the series of reaction can takes place. In the similar way, the transmission and the generation of the nerve, the generation and transmission of the nerve impulse, we need the sodium and the chlorine, okay, because of the potential, even sodium and potassium, okay, because of their concentration gradient, okay, there is like the impulse is being generated and transmitted throughout the axon there. Fine. So even in the circulation, the bicarbonate, right? So all this are very interesting topics. So you will be reading it in detail, okay, in the grade 11th, right? When you start the human physiology chapter. Got my point, students? So I hope you have clear with this part. So next we will be moving on to what? The formed elements, right? So formed elements, what we have this blood corpuscles and we have the blood cells, right? The corpuscles are also called the cells, so don't confuse. This is a same, like the same meaning, but we are using a different terminology. We can also call it as corpuscles, we also call it as like cells, and the cell fragments. Now cell fragments is not a cell, a complete cell, it's like just a fragment of the cell. Okay, so in the formed elements, what do we all read about? We read about three main types. What exactly are they? We read about this RBC, we read about this WBC, and we read about what? The platelets. We read about the platelets. Got my point? Yes, obviously, right? Now here RBC is what? RBC is, what is the full form of RBC, by the way? The red blood cell. Is it a cell? Yeah, it's a one single cell. Okay. Then we have what? Then we have the WBC, which is what? The white blood cell. Okay, then we have what? The platelets, right? Now platelets is not one complete cell, but it is what? A cell fragment. Okay, this is clear? Fine. Now in the blood corpuscles, what we have? In the blood corpuscles, we mainly have this WBC. So let me clear off this part, or else we will start in the next page. We will be starting up in the next page. Okay. We are having this blood corpuscles. So this is the RBC and they have the WBC, right? Now the cell fragments consist of what? It consists of the blood platelets. Consist of what? The blood platelets. Okay. So here this slide is completely filled. So let us move on to the next slide. Okay, let us move on to the next slide. Done. Now here let us write it down in detail about the formed elements. About what? The formed elements. Okay, it is about the formed elements. Now we were discussing the formed elements mainly. What we have? We have this blood corpuscle or the cells, and then we have the cell fragments. What comes under the blood corpuscles? We have this RBC, okay, then we have what? The WBCs, okay, and the cell fragment is your blood platelets. Fine, students. Now what is the full form of the RBC? It is the red blood cells, okay, or it is also called the erythrocytes. It is called what? The erythrocytes. Now next, the WBC. What the WBC is called? The white blood cells, or it is also called what? The leukocytes. The leukocytes. Fine. Now again we have the blood platelets. What is the blood platelets called? The blood platelets are also called what? They are also called thrombocytes. Got it? What is cytes? What is the common in all of three? If you see here, here you have cytes, here you have the cytes, here we have this cytes. Okay, so see, cytes means nothing but cells. What do they mean? The cells. Okay, right? Now here erythrocytes, right? The leukocytes and the thrombocytes. Fine. Now just tell me one thing. What is the formation? Now where exactly these formed elements are? You know where these formed elements are? Present. Okay, where they are formed in our body? Tell me one thing. Now these all formed elements, where exactly they are formed? Now here they are formed in. They are formed, or I can say produced. Okay, produced in bone marrow. They are produced in bone marrow. Fine. Students, I think all of you are aware of what exactly is the bone marrow, but if for the one who don't know what exactly is the bone marrow, for example, these are the long bones, right? Now these are our long bones. Now for example, inside the long bones you have this cavity, right? There is this cavity, fine. Now this cavity is present. What does it contain? This cavity contains the bone marrow. This contains the bone marrow. Fine. Now this bone marrow, they have a special type of a cells. What cells are present? Okay, they have this totipotent cells. Now that can make, from where we are getting these, the formed elements. Got my point? So they have the ability to generate different type of the cells. Now here this is called the form. Now here they will be producing the formed elements. Right. Now in the formed elements we have this blood corpuscles and the cell fragments. Now the process of formation of the blood corpuscle, what exactly it is called? The process of, now the process of formation, please listen to this very very carefully, students. Now the process of formation of the blood corpuscle, I am just talking about the corpuscles, not the cell fragments. The process of formation of the blood corpuscle, what exactly it is called? It is called hematopoiesis. It is called hematopoiesis. It is called the hematopoiesis. Got my point? Now here that is both the process of formation of the RBC and the WBC. But the process of formation of the RBC is called what? It is called the erythropoiesis. What it is called? I will write it down here at the below. Yeah. So the process of formation of the RBC is called erythropoiesis. Erythropoiesis. Okay, it is called what? The erythropoiesis. In the similar way, the process of formation, okay, the process of formation of the WBC, what exactly it is called? So here, yeah, the process of formation of WBC is called leucopoiesis. Fine, it is called the leucopoiesis. Next, in the similar way for the thrombocytes, you can write down the process of blood platelet is called thrombopoiesis. Okay, it is called the thrombopoiesis. So are you clear with these terminology, students? Okay, what is hematopoiesis? That is the process of formation of the blood corpuscles. Right. Now what is the formation, what is the process of formation of the RBC? It is called the erythropoiesis. What is the formation of, what is the process of formation of this WBC? Leucopoiesis. In the similar way, the formation of the blood platelets is called the thrombopoiesis. Fine. So this is clear. I hope you have understood this part in detail. Now let us read out each of them in detail. Like for example, let us read out about the RBC, right? Let us read about the WBC and let us read about this blood platelet. Okay, next, yeah. So first let us start reading about the blood. Okay, that is the RBCs. Okay, the blood corpuscles, that is the RBC. That is the RBC. Now here the RBC is also called the red blood cell, or it is also called the erythrocyte. It is also called what? The erythrocyte. Fine. Okay. Yeah. Now here, now what exactly is the structure? How exactly your RBC looks? Yeah. How exactly your RBC looks? Fine. Okay. Now here the RBC. Now what is the shape? It's biconcave. Okay, what is the shape? It's biconcave. Fine. Now here yes, this RBCs. Now we can just write down the RBCs. Okay. Now the RBCs are formed in, they are formed in your bone marrow. Okay. Now here they appear red in the color because of the presence of the pigment called the hemoglobin. Okay, the presence of the pigment called the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, which is also what? The which is also called the pigment, the respiratory pigment there. Fine. Next. So what exactly is the lifespan? The lifespan of the RBC is 120 days. It is what? The 120 days. Next. After 120 days, the RBCs die. Okay. And the spleen is called the graveyard of RBC. The graveyard of RBC. Got my point? Okay. Next, apart from that, you can write down the RBC carry oxygen to the tissues. To the tissues. Next, the shape of the RBC is biconcave. Fine. Okay, so this is clear. Now I have a small question for you. Now please tell me, do all the organisms have the same shape of RBC, that is the biconcave? And can you also tell me why exactly the RBCs are biconcave? Why not any other shape? Now is there any advantage? Right? Now please let me know this answer. Fine. Now let us go for the next one. Now what is the count? Now among the formed elements, which is most abundant? So the RBCs are most abundant. So how much? You can write down the RBCs are most abundant in body. Now what is the range? That is 5 million to 5.5 million per millimeter cube. Okay, so these are the one which are most abundant in our body. Got my point? Now we have studied about what? We have studied about the RBC. Let us move on to the next one, that is the WBC. Okay, now WBCs. The WBCs are also called the white blood cells or the leukocyte or the leukocytes. Got my point? They are called the leukocytes. Now what exactly is the role of these WBCs in our body? Now these WBCs, they help in the body's defense mechanism. You can write down, okay, they play an important role. They play an important role in body's defense mechanism. Defense mechanism. Okay, the defense mechanism and the overall body's immunity. Fine. Now here apart from that, now are they do they have any color? Okay, how do they appear? So here they are white in color, so they don't have any respiratory pigment. Okay, so you can write down they appear white in color due to absence of any pigment, due to the absence of pigments, due to the absence of the pigment. Next, what is the shape of the WBC? You can write down the shape of WBC is irregular. Is what? Irregular. How exactly they look? They look amoeboid. Amoeboid in shape. Okay. Amoeboid. Fine. Now means, for example, if I take, they appear something like this. fine. Okay, now why they have an irregular shape. So I am saying this is a WBC. Okay, they are irregular in shape. Can anyone just tell me what is the benefit that they don't have any shape and they are irregular in shape? Fine. And do you know one fact about these WBCs? Now we have the capillaries, right? Now for example, this is our capillary. Okay, this is our capillary. Now what will be flowing in through the capillary? Now we have the RBCs. Now we have this WBCs, and then we have these platelets, right? We have this platelets. Now do you know one thing, that these WBCs can squeeze out and pass through capillaries. They can squeeze out. For example, students, okay, for example, there is a wall. Now they can go through the wall. They can squeeze and go through the wall. But whereas the RBCs and the platelets cannot pass through the wall. That is one more major advantage. Now why exactly? Now what did I just tell you? Now they are helping in the body's defense mechanism to improve the body's immune system. Now for example, there is an phagocyte, okay, now a site of infection. Now they need to reach to the site of infection quickly. Now if they have one proper shape, they cannot squeeze through the capillaries, right? Right. So as they don't have any proper shape, they are irregular in shape, okay, they can squeeze through the capillaries, through the capillary pore. Now and reach the site of infection for the very first action, okay, without causing any delay. For example, if they are moving into the capillaries, now they may be, for example, there may be the infection at the site, maybe at the site of the leg, and from throughout the body they should accumulate there, because the number of WBCs are less, right? So at that time what will happen? So they need to, if they go through the capillaries, it would take much time, but we don't have the time. That's the reason here these being irregular in shape, they will be triggering up the process and reaching quickly to the site of infection, okay, to prevent the more damage to the body. Got my point? So yeah, so just look how in a proper way, like I can say that efficiently our body and the cells are being designed there. Next, okay, they are amoeboid in shape and they can squeeze through capillaries. You can write down the WBCs, okay, they can easily pass through the capillary. Okay, now in the previous slide we have missed one point. Okay, so what exactly it is? Now does the RBC have nucleus? Does the RBC have nucleus? So you can write the RBC is what? The RBC is devoid of nucleus. Devoid of nucleus. What do you mean by devoid of nucleus? It is enucleated. Okay, means they don't have nucleus. Now why they don't have nucleus? Okay, so see what the function RBC does. RBC carries the oxygen. Now just imagine if they have nucleus, the inner space would be occupied by the nucleus and they don't have the sufficient space to carry out these the oxygen. Okay, so each RBC can carry 4 molecules. In the similar way, if they have the nucleus, they cannot carry the oxygen and transport to the tissues. That's the reason it is adapted in such a way that they don't have the nucleus. So RBCs are enucleated. Got my point? Now apart from that, okay, talking about these WBC, the WBCs are nucleated. Okay, you can write down the WBC are nucleated, means they have nucleus. Okay, so tell me one thing, if in case the nucleus is present in the RBC, so the lifespan will increase or the lifespan will decrease. Now what was the lifespan here? Okay, so what was the lifespan? The lifespan was 120 days. So if as they are enucleated, if the nucleus is present, now at that time tell me students, will the lifespan increase or will the lifespan decrease? Next, here we have the WBCs are what? The nucleated, they have a nucleus there. Got my point? Now apart from that, okay, we can write down they are further divided into mainly into two types, as on the basis of presence and absence of granules. Now what exactly these are granules? These are the protein structures. Fine, they are made up of proteins into what? Into the granulocyte and the agranulocyte. Agranulocytes. Fine. Now here we will be discussing about the granulocytes and agranulocytes in detail. Fine. So these were the main points. Now here mainly the WBC we are classifying into the two main types on basis of what? On the basis of, okay, the presence and absence of granule. Okay, so in one, for example, the granules are present. Okay, so the presence of granules, Now here we are observing the absence of granules. If the granules are present, that is called what? The granulocytes. If the granules are absent, that is agranulocytes. Now what comes under granulocytes? Under granulocytes, we mainly have three of them. What are there? Yeah. So here mainly three types we have. We have what? We have the basophils. Then we have the eosinophils. These are also called acidophils. Fine. Next we have the neutrophils. Okay. And in the agranulocyte, what we have? In the agranulocytes, as they are not taking up the Gram stain, okay, we have two. We have what? The monocytes, and then we have the lymphocyte. Got it, students? Now just imagine, what did I tell you? I told you that they are colorless. Fine. Now when they are colorless, when you observe them under the slide, how do you observe? They don't show any color. So how do you observe it? So what we do? We stain them. Okay, we stain them using some dyes. So after staining them, see, we have an acidic dye, we have a basic dye. Okay, so for example, when you are staining, now here you can again write down, okay, you can write down on the basis of intake of stain, okay, we are dividing them into the three. We have basophils. See, in the word base means here they intake the basic stain. What stain they are taking? They are taking the basic stain. Okay. Here the acidophils or eosinophils, that is what? Acidic. They intake what stain? They intake the acidic stain. Now here it is the neutrophil. Okay. So here this neutrophils will be taking up like the both. Fine, they will be showing for the both, neutral for both. The reaction is neutral for both of them. So if it is only taking acidic stain, it is what? The acidophils or eosinophils. If it is taking a basic stain, that is called what? Basophils, and neutrophils like take both of them. This is clear why it is named acidophil, basophil, neutrophil. We have the monocytes and the lymphocytes. Here they don't have any granules. Okay, here there is an absence of granules, here there is a presence of granules. Now let us quickly now among them, now what is the count of the WBC? The count, how much is the count? you have this 6,000 to 8,000, okay, present in our body. Fine. Now this is a count actually. Now how many weeks? Now here they can stay for 20. What is the lifespan? 12 to 20 days. Now among them again we are dividing which is the most abundant. If they ask you which is the most abundant, then go for neutrophils. How much? Now they owe 60 to 65%. Now you can write down they are what? The most abundant. Okay, they are what? The most abundant. Right? Now which is the least abundant? The least abundant is what? The basophil. What you can write down? They are the least abundant. Okay, so how much percentage? The percentage is 0.5 to 1%, right? What about the eosinophils? That is 2 to 3%, right? What about the monocytes? You have 6 to 8%. What about the lymphocytes? That is the 20 to 25%. How much? 20 to 25%. Let us quickly see the structures. Let us quickly draw and see the structures. So here if you see this basophils, okay. Yeah, the lymphocytes. They are trilobed nucleus. Now this will look like an headphone. They have an headphone shaped nuclei, whereas neutrophils they have 7 to 8 multi-lobed nuclei. Monocytes they have a horseshoe shaped nuclei, whereas they have one single nuclei present here. Now apart from that, the granules, where the granules are present? The granules are present here. The granules are present here. The granules are present over here. Okay, so I can say they are three-lobed nucleus. The nucleus is three-lobed. Now here it is what? The two-lobed nucleus, or you can say the headphone-shaped nucleus. The headphone-shaped nuclei. Okay, now here you have, okay, that is 3 to 7 or 3 to 8. You can yeah, the 7 to 8, you can say it is multi-lobed nuclei. Fine, you will finding like more. 7 to 8 also you can see. Now this is what? This is the horseshoe. The horseshoe shaped nuclei. Fine. Now if they ask you which is the largest among this 5, then you can write down this one. Okay, this is the largest. Right? Yes, this is what? The largest among the all. Abundant is most abundant is neutrophil. The least abundant is what? The basophil. Now for the lymphocytes, we again divide them into what? The B lymphocyte. Now again the T lymphocyte. Got my point? Now B lymphocytes I will not tell in detail, but yeah, you should remember that they help in the production of the antibodies. They help in the production of what? They help in production of antibody. Got my point? Now what is the role of the basophils? Okay, so what is the role of basophils? Now whenever, like you know, the allergic reactions, I can say, like the allergic reactions. Right, now here they will be producing histamine. They will be producing this histamine. Now whenever there is an inflammatory reaction, inflammation, histamine, okay, would be produced, which will be acting against it. Right, got my point? Now we also have this eosinophils. Now whenever this eosinophils will be increasing, whenever there is an allergy or the helminthic infection in the body. Helminthic infection in the body. Now what about the neutrophils? These are phagocytic cells. What they are? They are phagocytic. They are phagocytic cells. Means whenever the bacteria and everything enters, okay, they will be engulfing it in and producing there. Okay. Fine. Next we have this monocytes, right? Now monocytes are also present. Now here you can say these are phagocytic, right? Now whereas the lymphocytes are what? They are non-phagocytic in nature, helpful in the antibody production, right? Now let us see the last part. What we have? We have this blood platelets. We have this blood platelets. They are also called what? Thrombocytes, right? Now these are the cell fragments. These are the cell fragments. Now where exactly they are produced? They are produced in the bone marrow. Okay, in the bone marrow, right? In the bone marrow. So here they will be producing like the cells. Now normally, for example, the cell. Now this cell is broken down into what? This is a megakaryocyte. What exactly is produced? This is megakaryocyte, which will be further, which will be what? Further it will be broken down into the irregular shaped fragments, okay, which are nothing but your blood platelets. What do they contain? They contain the thrombokinase. What do they contain? They contain the thrombokinase, right? Fine. Now what is the process called? The thrombokinesis. Now what exactly is the count? Now here they are 1,50,000 to 3,50,000 in range. Okay, so what is the lifespan? So here they will be living for a week in our body. Got my point? So what exactly they help in? They help in the clotting of blood. Okay, they help in clotting of blood. Help in clotting of blood. Fine. Okay students, so I hope you have understood these topics and all these topics are clear. So today we have discussed what is the function of the circulatory system, what are different types of circulatory system, and also the formed elements. Okay, so what is the blood made up of, the composition of blood, the composition of plasma and the formed elements, what exactly the processes are called, and what are the lifespan, okay, their the physiology and how exactly they are helpful. Okay, so in tomorrow's session we will be continuing up with this topic. We will be discussing the ABO blood grouping, the clotting mechanism, right, in detail. Thank you students. That's all for today. We will again continue tomorrow.